This music is cold as hell. Manic Mondays are cold as hell. We are cold as hell.
They say pandas are real, but why do they move like mascots and act like cartoons? Why isn't a panda on the Chinese zodiac? Dragons made the list, but not the so-called gentle giant. Pandas weren't even discovered until the late 1800s, but now they're global icons, plastered on peace campaigns and zoo posters. Some say they're humans in suits, staged performances, dressed up as wildlife. Others believe they're part of something deeper, a hybrid experiment crafted by the elite, genetic manipulation, symbol engineering, or maybe even biological theater. Footage from Chinese zoos shows creatures moving, strange, caught on tape. You're not crazy for asking questions. Welcome to Coldest Hell TV, where we don't care how cute it looks. If it smells like a lie, we dig until it's cold.
That is a big fat lie. Pandas do not exist. They don't exist in people's homes. They don't exist in the wild, but they do exist in the zoo. The first panda to be discovered was in the 1920s, and the first panda to be brought over to the US was in the 1930s by this woman. And you know how I feel about women. So you're telling me in over 4,000 years of Chinese history, they've never seen pandas until the 1920s? Bro, even in the Chinese zodiac, they have a dragon. Dragons are real, but pandas aren't. They've been lying to you about animals. This is called a fake animal. They have fake animals in zoos just to gain popularity, gain money, gain traction. But look at this picture. That's a stuffed animal, but they make you think it's real. The majority of pandas you see in zoos are just fake. They're animatronics, they're puppets, they're people in fursuits. They use everything they can to make you believe pandas are real. And they get so much funding for it. You will never find amateur footage of them in the wild. You'll You'll get Animal Planet, you'll get nature photos, videos, people who run the show or whatever, and they'll make fake videos of it. You'll never see amateur videos of it. You will never discover a panda in the wild. You're telling me this animal only eats one thing it can only eat, and it only mates one time a year. Bro, this is fakest animal you'll ever discover. Even faker than dinosaurs. If you know anything about the Illuminati or symbolism, what panda eyes mean, like, you start to understand everything they do is fake just to make money and just to make you believe in their lies. They love it when you believe in their lies.
What if I told you pandas aren't just the cute little fuzzballs you see in the movies? No, think about it. Nobody's ever seen a panda in the wild. They're only in zoos, never in people's homes. Weird, right? And here's something else. There's no panda in the Chinese zodiac. How does China's most popular animal not make the cut? And there are no ancient paintings of pandas either, just ones from the last 100 years. It's like they just appeared out of nowhere. I mean, the first recorded panda sighting was in 1929. That's like yesterday. Oh, and have you seen how pandas are always dressed up in suits in pop culture? It's almost like they're trying to make us believe pandas are people in costumes. I mean, it's one of the only animals the Chinese don't eat. Something's off. And get this, pandas pee upside down, have slit-shaped eyes like cats. How does that even make sense? Female pandas are only fertile for like 24 to 36 hours a year. And their babies, they're born looking like gummy bears. You ever wonder how they survive? Well, they don't, because we've never seen a wild panda. Here's where it gets crazy. Pandas are used as political bargaining chips in panda diplomacy. Some say pandas are lab-made, others, they're people in suits. Think about it. They pee upside down, poop 40 times a day, ovulate once a year. And a group of pandas, it's literally called embarrassment. They're carnivores, but they eat bamboo. And every panda you see, it's going back to China. It's part of a bigger plan. So, are pandas real, or are we just being played? Either way, you're never going to look at them the same way again. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
Why are people questioning if giant pandas are real? Pandas have very human-like movements and behaviors. Humans can dress up in a white suit, and pandas welcome them as their own. Plus, they're so clumsy it brings into question how they're able to survive in the wild. Especially since the female panda is only fertile for 24 to 36 hours a year. Baby pandas only weigh between 1.5 ounces to 1 pound at birth, which is just 1/900th the size of their mother. Worldwide, giant pandas are on lease from China for $1 million plus annually, including any babies born in captivity. Giant pandas are carnivores, but due to their inability to taste meat, they survive almost solely on bamboo. Also, they pee upside down. What do you think? Are giant pandas real?
I don't think pandas are real.
Like the actual like black and white pandas?
Yes. So pandas, they were officially on the brink of extinction during like 1980. It was about like probably 1,100 pandas even left on the planet
On
Earth.
the Earth?
Yes. They're indigenous to China. And then the numbers finally spiked up during 2014. They ended up getting to like 1,800. During that time where pandas started to decrease in population, the number of abductions in the Chinese culture rose. A lot of kids were getting abducted. When you pay attention to 2014, during China, they started this new venture capital initiative where they started funding a lot of technological like advances. Uber's app was developed, fucking TikTok was developed, and ended up springing up through 2014.
That's crazy.
And then that's when pandas started increasing in population. So I think personally, a couple of them are abducted Chinese babies, couple of them are robots. That's just what I personally
Man, what's
think
in
from my
your
research.
what's in your fucking vape pen, man? I need to smoke what he's smoking because this nigga is making no sense to me. I want to follow this man with my spirit, but I was like, no, you lost me there.
Who started this ridiculous pandas aren't real hashtag? Panda is a national animal of China. As a Chinese, it's my responsibility to debunk these myths.
They pee upside down. I've never seen an animal.
Pandas pee upside down to mark territories and attract mate. The higher they pee, it shows the stronger they are.
Female pandas ovulate 1 day out of the year.
Pandas aren't very promiscuous. In order to stimulate their desire to breed, scientists show them videos of other pandas doing it. Thanks to these efforts, the number of giant pandas living in the wild has reached 1,800 in China. They have been downgraded from endangered to vulnerable species.
Every other animal goes back thousands and thousands of years. The skin of a panda was first found in 1869.
No one has ever seen dinosaurs. Does that mean dinosaurs aren't real? Panda fossils dating back to 8 million years ago have been unearthed in China. There are many descriptions of pandas in ancient Chinese books, but they're called by different names like He or Mo.
Pandas being fake.
That one I love.
It's
And
so
the
true.
we bred them like a really stupid dog. You know what I mean? These are poodle bears. There's nothing about the way pandas are that leads me to believe that they should have existed.
Yeah,
Nothing.
there aren't any old Chinese art. So you're telling me a 4,000-year-old civilization ignored their existence for 3,900 years and then made them their mascot for everything? That's insane.
Like, we like had the Olympics there, and they're like, "All right, this is our thing now."
Okay, you can't tell me that there's a conspiracy theory that pandas aren't real and think that I won't look into it. It has consumed me for the past 24 hours. There's a bunch of different facets of this theory. Some people think that pandas literally aren't real, they're people in suits. Other people think that pandas are lab made. But at the very least, they're so weird. Here's the stuff, we're gonna start with the stuff that's true. They pee upside down. I've never seen an animal do this. Giant pandas also poop around 40 times a day, but that's besides the point. You know how we're always trying to, it's an endangered species, everyone's always trying to get the pandas to do it? Female pandas ovulate 1 day out of the year. I've never heard of any other animal doing that. And if it's successful, the embryo stays in arrested development, which they think happens because like the embryo is supposed to proceed to the next step once the panda goes down to a lower altitude. Side note, but also interesting, a group of pandas is called an embarrassment of pandas. Pandas are also carnivores, but they only eat bamboo. I mean, it makes sense. They're a bear. They're a carnivore. So their digestive tract is like a carnivore's where it's shorter. And also because they are a carnivore, they don't have the enzymes to break down all of this bamboo that they're eating. So it's actually hurting them. Now, pandas are native to China. This is a whole other thing to get into. But what's really interesting is that all of the pandas you see in zoos will go back to China. So this was a US born panda that went back to China. And a lot of people talk about like the diplomacy angle of this. So apparently, President Obama was going to meet with the Dalai Lama for a diplomatic visit, and the Chinese government was like, if you do that, it's really going to strain our relations. The meeting happened, and a few days after it, we had to give a panda back to the Chinese government, and away from the zoo it went. So some people think that pandas are like these political bargaining chips. What's also interesting is that there have been moments where there have been fake pandas or animals pretending to be pandas. There was this incident at a zoo in Taiwan where a sun bear was painted black and white. What's also interesting is the timeline of when pandas were discovered. So you take any other animal and you look for like documentation throughout history, I don't know, like cave drawings. Basically every other animal goes back thousands and thousands of years. A lion, I don't know, I was like deer. But pandas, the skin of a panda was first found in 1869. And then it wasn't until 1929 that these brothers, were the first ones to shoot a panda. But isn't that in 1929, there was a new completely animal? Anyway, then more people online, a lot of people were saying that there's a reason humans and pandas can't interact, and that's because that there's a virus, a human virus that would hurt them. But I was looking around and I couldn't find that. Then there's also all of this stuff around how much money it takes to keep these pandas alive. Literally so much money. To me, the craziest thing is ovulating one day out of the year. Have you heard of this theory? What do you think?
This guy says pandas aren't real, and I'm starting to believe him. Okay, just hear my man now.
That is a big fat lie. Pandas do not exist. They don't exist in people's homes. They don't exist in the wild, but they do exist in the zoo. The first panda to be discovered was in the 1920s, and the first panda to be brought over to the US was in the 1930s by this woman. And you know how I feel about women. So you're telling me in over 4,000 years of Chinese history, they've never seen pandas until the 1920s? Bro, even in the Chinese zodiac, they have a dragon. Dragons are real, but pandas aren't. They've been lying to you about animals. This is called a fake animal. They have fake animals in zoos just to gain popularity, gain money, gain traction. But look at this picture. That's a stuffed animal. But they make you think it's real. The majority of pandas you see in zoos are just fake.
Okay, that definitely looks fake.
Animatronics.
I'm not gonna lie.
They're puppets. They're people in fursuits. They use everything they can to make you believe pandas are real, and they get so much funding for it. But you'll never find amateur footage of them in the wild. You'll get Animal Planet. You'll get nature photos, videos.
Can anybody confirm
of people
this?
Who run it,
Let me know
run
in the
show
comments
or
below.
whatever, and they'll make
If you've
fake
seen a
videos
panda
of
in
it.
real life.
But you'll never see amateur videos of it. You will never discover a panda in the wild.
What if I told you pandas aren't just the cute little fuzzballs you see in the movies? No. Think about it. Nobody's ever seen a panda in the wild. They're only in zoos, never in people's homes. Weird, right? And here's something else. There's no panda in the Chinese zodiac. How does China's most popular animal not make the cut? And there are no ancient paintings of pandas either, just ones from the last 100 years. It's like they just appeared out of nowhere. I mean, the first recorded panda sighting was in 1929. That's like yesterday. Oh, and have you seen how pandas are always dressed up in suits in pop culture? It's almost like they're trying to make us believe pandas are people in costumes. I mean, it's one of the only animals the Chinese don't eat. Something's off. And get this, pandas pee upside down, have slit-shaped eyes like cats. How does that even make sense? Female pandas are only fertile for like 24 to 36 hours a year. And their babies, they're born looking like gummy bears. You ever wonder how they survive? Well, they don't, because we've never seen a wild panda. Here's where it gets crazy. Pandas are used as political bargaining chips in panda diplomacy. Some say pandas are lab-made, others, they're people in suits. Think about it, they pee upside down, poop 40 times a day, ovulate once a year. And a group of pandas, it's literally called embarrassment. They're carnivores, but they eat bamboo. And every panda you see, it's going back to China. It's part of a bigger plan. So, are pandas real, or are we just being played? Either way, you're never going to look at them the same way again. I'm going to go ahead and say this is just a joke for entertainment purposes.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Every single day, scientists are out here breaking their backs to save pandas from extinction. But these lazy fluffballs, they're doing absolutely nothing to help themselves. Seriously, how does a panda think it's a good idea to climb a 30-foot branch so thin it's guaranteed to snap and send them crashing to the ground? Are pandas this determined to self-destruct? How are we supposed to save them when they can't even save themselves? Let's be honest. These adorable dummies don't have the survival skills to make it on their own. And you know why? They're always stumbling around like they're half asleep, and it's no surprise. They eat 80 pounds of bamboo a day just to barely stay alive. Here's a wild fact. Pandas' bodies are actually designed to eat meat. Yep, they're natural-born carnivores who one day decided, nah, hunting's too hard. Let's just eat sticks instead. And while bamboo is everywhere, it's about as nutritious as cardboard. Over millions of years, pandas basically gave up all their instincts for this bland diet. Now, between their endless clumsiness and their lack of common sense, pandas spend most of their lives trying not to fall out of trees and break their necks. Pandas are like that one reckless friend who always climbs too high, falls, and somehow barely survives. Adorable? Yes. Smart? Absolutely not.
So everyone's been making videos about how pandas aren't real, and I just had to hop on this because I've been saying for years that pandas are just drunk people in panda suits, and you cannot watch this video and tell me otherwise. Just wait for it. I don't know what it is about that video, but just getting hit in the face and then going, that's a human. That's a human.
I think pandas are fake or just like human created. I think I'm on that train now. I'm in that conspiracy theory because do you know how long it took me to find this pandas in wild footage? And you know something I couldn't find? Pandas fighting any other animal other than themselves. Isn't that weird? They have zero predators or something. It's almost like people just plant pandas in the wild and they're like, all right, let's shoot this. And because also in zoos, I've never seen them be in snow. Every time I see a panda in a zoo, it's chilling. Or they're eating some bamboo. Never with the snow, though. But every wild video I see is pandas in the snow. Now, I know China does have seasons and whatnot. But I don't know, bro. I don't think I'm buying it. Because watch this. I don't know, man. I feel like they just spray painting bears. Or they doing something. I don't know. But it's like the panda don't even care about him. He keep on running back this. It's like, I don't know, man. Something about it is just a little fishy to me. Because think about in your life. Tell me somebody has seen a panda. And I know people be like, man, you're dumb, obviously. I'm just saying, though, it's just weird to me. There's never been like a panda encounter caught on camera. You know what I mean? That's weird to me. Why has that never happened?
We both know it's just a guy in a suit, right?
Yeah.
Panda bears.
Clearly they're fake.
Literally.
No.
Do you want to hear my argument?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not saying they're like fake. Like I think that animals exist that are. I just think they're like Shih Tzus. They're like completely lab, like bred to be that, because they only ovulate like 3 days a year. Mm-hmm. They sleep or eat 23 hours a day. They can't defend themselves. They only eat bamboo, and a group of them is called an embarrassment of pandas. And they don't exist in Chinese history before like 1870.
Interesting. And how do they survive? They seem like such an incompetent like animal that no way they could survive.
They're upset. And this is one of those things where if I say it, people are like, "Oh, you're an idiot." And like every couple weeks, someone will text me like, "Dude, look at this video. They literally are like retarded."
I'm gonna go find some panda videos and send them to you now.
Yeah, they just like roll down hills.
Did you see the video? I think it was China. They put dogs and painted them like pandas, and they were faking them at a zoo, and they got in trouble. It was amazing.
Dude, everyone writes it to me. I'm like, okay, every panda in the world's owned by China. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so like they own the genetics of it. They started rolling it out in like 47. They sent everyone a panda. It was called panda diplomacy. Pan is like the demon, like Pan, like pandemic, pandemonium. I think they might have been bred to eat bamboo because bamboo is hard to clear.
So maybe they wanted to clear the bamboo.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, well, they're black, white, Asian, and docile. Let's roll this out as like the model citizen,
Perfect for Asia, yeah. It seems a little crazy, but it's possible.
Dude,
the fact of them surviving makes no sense. Like, how the fuck's a panda
Dude, they don't
survive?
ovulate. They don't F.
Yeah, they won't breed in captivity,
They won't
right?
breed. They can't get them to F. They're like, they're lazy. I've always despised them. And so I'm like, dude.
Everyone else thinks they're cute, and you're like, fuck these pandas.
Oh, dude, people are like, oh, save the panda. I'm like, dude, they're useless. I despise them.
Yeah, they are pretty useless. They're just cute, but.
Allegedly.
The dog ones were cuter.
Dog pandas. I think red pandas were a valid species, but I think they've been bred into an abomination.
Don't fall for the fake pandas. Zoogoers in China have been left outraged after discovering that the so-called pandas they were cooing over were just painted dogs. The duped visitors claimed they only realized the scam at the Shanwei Zoo, when one of the apparent pandas started panting and barking. This isn't the first time a zoo in China has been caught doing this. The other zoo was also caught with fake pandas who turned out to be painted chow chows. There's currently no update on what will happen to these dogs that have been posing as pandas now that the truth has been exposed. And what happened to the real pandas? Did they ever exist? Or was this just a scam from the beginning? Whatever the case, hopefully all the animals are safe. And let's hope zoos don't continue to think their audiences are really dumb enough to fall for this again.
A zoo in China is being accused of trying to trick visitors by using dogs for pandas by painting them black and white, with the zoo telling Chinese state media that they didn't mislead anyone because they are clearly advertised as panda dogs. But visitors have not been pleased, with one writing online, "This is not funny at all. Chow chows have fragile skin and thick coats which make them susceptible to skin disease." But then the zoo fired back saying the dogs weren't harmed and that if people can dye their hair, dogs can too because their fur is the same as hair. And all of this is in the past, Chinese people have accused their zoos of having fake animals, right? Sometimes using dogs as stand-ins for wolves or African cats, or last year accusing a zoo of putting a man in a sun bear suit.
Did you know that the only panda in the world that doesn't belong to China is in Mexico? Her name is Xin Xin, and she lives at the Chapultepec Zoo in Mexico City. Her lineage goes back to when China used to gift pandas to different countries as a form of diplomatic alliance. And they gifted Mexico Pepe and Ying Ying, and this created a whole lineage of pandas in Mexico. However, China stopped this practice of gifting pandas, and now what they do is they lease pandas to different countries for their zoos. Some countries pay an upwards of $1 million a year to keep these pandas in their zoos. And now, any foreign-born offspring from these pandas is considered Chinese property and must be returned along with the parent pandas that were leased. But this rule was created after Xin Xin was born, making Xin Xin 100% Mexicana. Sadly, she's 33 years old and nearing the end of her life. They have tried to get her to reproduce in the past, but all attempts have been unsuccessful, making her the last panda in the world that's not Chinese property. If you're ever in Mexico City, you can go visit her at the Chapultepec Zoo.
The Chinese zoo is reassuring visitors that its sun bears are real and not humans in disguise. I honestly don't, I mean, I honestly feel like it's a human in disguise, but I'll take their word for it. It comes after a video of this animal standing up like a literal person went viral.
No, this is not a human dressed in a bear costume. A zoo in China had to clarify just that after footage of one of its Malayan sun bears went viral. The bear, which was filmed standing on its hind legs in a human-like stance, ignited rumors that it was just an employee in an ill-fitting costume. The Hangzhou Zoo formally addressed the rumors, posting a note on social media from the perspective of the bear itself, who's named Angela. The statement read, quote, "I'm Angela the sun bear. I got a call after work yesterday from the head of the zoo asking if I was being lazy and skipped work today and found a human to take my place. Let me reiterate again to everyone that I am a sun bear."
So apparently some people are accusing the Bronx Zoo of putting a human inside a polar bear costume. Look at that dive. They're saying that dive is proof itself that there's a human inside a piece of fur pretending to be a polar bear. We all know this happened in China with a bear just 6 months back or so. But would the U.S. do it too? Would the Bronx Zoo do it? Many of my fans are saying, hey, that's actually an albino grizzly bear. It's not. I can tell by the shaping and coloration. So let's leave the identification to me, Eagle Scout, a biologist, you might say. So I do know that this one is a polar bear. I'm mixed. I think it does look like a human. I've never seen a polar bear dive like that. In fact, polar bears don't even know how to dive. They would go into the water bottoms first, especially if they're hunting for like a seal pup or something. But anyway, what do you think? Do you think this is a human inside a costume, or do you think it's a real polar bear? If it's a human, shame on the Bronx Zoo is what I have to say. So apparently...
And let me just clear something up before I read these entropy stream chats. Like when I say pandas are fake, what does that mean? I understand how if someone just heard that, and this is only a small percentage of the people who spiral. Most of the people that spiral just suck, in my opinion. But when I say pandas are fake, I mean the story around pandas are fake. Can you go to a zoo and see a panda? Yes. Do I think that every bear, everything you've seen that's a panda is it like an illusion? No. I think the range is total fraud, where people in panda suits, whatever, or there's some sort of weird lab hybrid. It's kind of like a liger or like a certain inbred weird species creation. That's what I mean by that. I don't mean they don't exist, but the story around it exists. Like, did Sandy Hook happen? Yeah, but what was it? That's the difference. Did 9/11 happen? Yes, it did happen. Let's say a truther says 9/11 was fake. Does that mean buildings didn't fall down? Does that mean people didn't die? No. It means the story is fake. The mainstream accepted official story is not real. I do understand if someone heard someone say 9/11 is fake, that sounds crazy if you think the person's saying that it didn't happen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that an event on that day didn't happen. I'm just saying the story around it is ridiculous.
So right now there is a zoo in China that is under fire for faking panda bears. That is correct. They didn't have real panda bears, so they did what any other zoo would do and grab local chow chows and paint them to look like panda bears. I mean, this must be the most tourist zoo ever because the national animal of China is the panda bear. That's like us in America trying to pass off a pigeon as an American eagle. Let me show you a quick video of how ridiculous this absolutely looked, and the fact that the only red flag that these weren't real pandas was that they were panting. Roll film.
Is that a panda or a dog? A Chinese zoo has sparked fury after it painted dogs black and white and presented them as pandas. The zoo attempted to disguise the puppies with black ears, limbs, and with dark circles around their eyes, but visitors became suspicious when the pandas started panting in their enclosure. When quizzed, the zoo admitted that they had died 2 chow chow.
Now, apparently the zoo does fully disclose that these are painted dogs. It's just on a very, very small sign, so that is why the zoogoers really felt cheated and lied to in this situation. And this wouldn't even be the first time that this has happened, because there's actually cafes in China that will paint your dog to look exactly like a panda bear. And in some cases, even tigers and stuff. So I'd like to hear in the comments below, would you guys feel offended if you went to a zoo and you saw this instead of a panda bear? Also, I can't even imagine that paint is very good for an animal anyways. So I'd like to hear in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Pandas are people inside of panda costumes. And there's nothing that you can say to convince me otherwise. Have you seen a panda in real life? I have. And it is a person in a costume. Pandas aren't real. Pandas are people inside of panda costumes. And there's nothing that you can say to convince me otherwise. Have you seen a panda in real life? I have. And it is a person in a costume.
So, are pandas real? Or are they another illusion crafted for the masses? Suits, clones, or elite distractions? Either way, the truth don't play dress up. Keep watching Cold Estelle TV, where even the cuddly ain't safe from the smoke.